Okay, now it's live. I was like, "Why? Where's my little it's live button?" Welcome to a quick live stream where I just wanted to announce that there is the new TrueNAS 2410. I've been updating systems. I already did a video about electric eel. That video is still relevant. There's not anything in the final that was dramatically different. So, got double talk here as I got my live stream pulled up on their site here. Anyways, there's not any major differences between this other than its final release. I was already running some of the beta release into the release candidate into release candidate 2. So a lot of these updates are pretty minor, but what I'm going to do is first run through the list of things that are going on. And if there's Q&As that come up here, I'll answer any questions as best I can to talk about it. But real quick, the big deal, and I did a separate video for this already, is the RAIDZ expansion. That's huge. It's probably going to be the big thing that people are talking about on this is that, yeah, the ability to expand ZFS has been like a requested feature. And when it got announced that they were working on it and that they had some, progress made on it, it was a few years ago. And so people like kept thinking it was never coming. But the reality is they develop things in a slower, methodical manner, which I absolutely appreciate because so much of my data resides on ZFS. So the fact that ZFS development is done at a careful rate is completely worth it. But I have that entire video on RAIDZ expansion. I'm probably going to do a bigger video because I've got some older ones on ZFS and how it works and how VDEVs work. But of course, at the time I said, and I made sure I said at the beginning of that video, there will be a future where you will be able to change some of these parameters. So probably if I don't get it here in 2024 and 2025, I'll make a whole another deep dive ZFS video where I'll just take all the things that are still true and put them in there. But of course, add the new feature, which is RAIDZ VDEVs and the expansion there. So that's definitely, I would say, among the top things. The next thing that is right up there with it, though, is a lack of Kubernetes. And that's big. The problem with Kubernetes, good and bad, it's complicated. And being that Kubernetes is complicated, it created complexities in the apps and the deployment. So that has been removed. So they actually are just using Docker. And let me show you real quick, because this is, people thinking, well, did they pull the rug out from under me? What do my apps look like now? And they look the same because the template for the app isn't changed. So the apps themselves look very much the same. It even ported over my apps without any problem. So your same configuration. I wasn't sure how much they would be varying on this, but because the Kubernetes was pulling Docker images, not really a big deal here. And we even have the same, well, there's more apps coming in the store, etc. But essentially the same familiar menus here, not learning anything new, which is good. So I was not 100% how they were doing this, and I'm happy all the way here to final. It looks the same as it did when I talked about the release candidates of it. So the apps install much the same. It's a very similar menu for the app install. It's just not running Kubernetes in the background. Now that has an interesting side effect when you do it that way, because what happened is, and let me go over here to reporting, and we shall pull this up with this system here. We're going to switch over to the net data reporting because it looks cooler. But I want to show this is the part that really matters. So we're going to go, and I think it was within the last 6 hours I updated this. We'll find out here. Take a second to pull the net data. By the way, net data is built in. That started, I think, in 2404. It is built in as well in 2410. So you don't even have to load it as an app. But we're going to zoom in on this part here because this is what the upgrade process looked like. We'll take a second to kind of re-render this. So here's the system idling. Here's me going in and updating it. So, there's some usage. This is what it looks like without Kubernetes. So the CPU is sitting here at like 1.9%, barely doing anything. This is what it was doing constantly with Kubernetes. This is the problem with all the extra overhead that it was creating. You actually have a system that's more performant. You have less CPU cycles being wasted on nothing. I'm running the exact same apps on this system as I was before and after. And what a difference. I mean, look at this. We're like 10% CPU just chilling, and now just chill. Completely idle. That is amazing. And that's the huge thing about a lot of that I was just excited to share with people, is the fact that by reducing, they've made it easier. I'm sure it's going to make it that much better for all the applications as well. So definitely a piece of it that I'm looking forward to is that dashboard enclosure management. Fast deduplication. This is a new feature they added in OpenZFS, so that's great. I definitely think that's pretty cool. What else do they have in here? I have an updated. I don't think I've covered the installer, but I'm going to do a new getting started, because to me, this with 2410 is so much an improvement. I'll need to do a getting started video again anyways. And so I'll be looking more at the installer. I mean, I didn't detail out why the installer is different versus the way it was. I kind of just blaze through the installer whenever I'm setting these up. So no big deal. Something worth noting, though, is I have not played with this at all. This is the True Cloud backup test or backup task. I will be testing this task, and it'll be interesting to see, because they've now baked this into the backup. So if we go over here to data protection, actually, and we have True Cloud backup tasks. And it's a way to back up to the True Cloud. Now, I have not set this up at all, so I'll walk through that in a separate video. I'm going to do some testing with it, do backups, do restores, and see how it works. But I think it's kind of neat that they have that as an option. I know when I had first looked at it, there was some bugs in the beta version that they sorted out in the release candidate, and I said, hey, I'll add that to my to-do list with TrueNAS. But overall, that's, pretty nice feature to have it built in like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? NAS after dark. Yes, absolutely. I'm not under the weather. I just have a hoarse voice from talking all day. I've had 2 days of between recordings and meetings and everything else. This is actually why I record in the morning. Fun fact, I sound different, and you don't notice it as much unless you listen to me a lot. My recordings in the morning are always much cleaner than in the afternoon. By afternoon, I'm talk that much during the day with client meetings, and I spend a lot of time in front of a camera. Sometimes it's on Zoom, sometimes it's hanging out with friends or going to events and talking. So yes, I have a hoarseness to me by the end of the day. This is actually a trick when it comes to recording, is trying to make sure your voice sounds the same as when you recorded it. So if I record anything in the evening, I make sure all of it was recorded in the evening, because I almost always sound like this at the end of the day. I'm interested in implementing a solution in this space. I'm not sure whether to go TrueNAS or Unraid. Is there a clear winner when it comes to core functionality and features? That's a tough one, because there's no doubt that Unraid has a big community behind it and a lot of support. It doesn't have the same performance level as TrueNAS. So if your performance is what you care about, TrueNAS is the way to go. But usually for home users, it's about like flexibility of storage and the applications and the community around it. And TrueNAS has a wonderful community around it, but it's a little bit stiffer when it comes to the applications. There's getting better now, especially now that it's just pure Docker, but the application support seems to be maybe a little bit more fine-tuned in Unraid. But I don't use Unraid, so I can't really speak to it. Hard to say exactly. There's a few people have done comparisons. I just didn't have enough interest in doing a comparison, because once you reach the performance problem with Unraid, it immediately loses interest in me, because I need the performance, especially for video editing and things like that. But if you just need like Plex doesn't need performance. Plex just needs CPU performance, but not drive performance. And if that's your goal, it may be like more ideal for you. One of the things I'm going to do here, and we'll share this tab. And while we're doing this, we're doing it live. We're going to update another. I'm figured while I'm doing this, I'll update servers while people are asking questions, or I can always talk. So go ahead and download and apply updates. There we go. Now it's running. So it's going to verify the existing and download. Take a few minutes to do. But I figured, hey, why not? Go ahead and, do a live update. Yeah, this is kind of a cool feature, is that they have a search bar. So now if you want to find something, I think this is wonderful. Maybe because I'm so used to it, I overlooked this feature, but you're probably right. This is truly helpful for especially new users going, did you know there's an entire audit log in here? And did you know how to find it? Actually, you just type in audit and you can find the audit log. even the audit retention, which cool. They have this. This is actually a feature that I can't remember if this was in the last version or not, but at first I believe you couldn't do it. You may run into instances where you have to set the retention lower. I've seen people have things mess up, and because of the way they set stuff up, where it was like a failed authentication, and it would do too many authentications, it would then fill the audit log up and crash the audit log server. Fun fact. So I think that's why they have some of their audit attention or audit retention options that are in there. When is Simon going to start his own 3 Mile Island nuclear power reactor to run his stack? Oh, I'm a power minimalist on a lot of this stuff, so not likely too much of a problem. Matter of fact, one of the things we're going to be doing is some getting started with Home Lab, and I talked about this the other day. And do I have a picture of it? Oh, yeah, I can share this one. But one of the things I talked about was these little mini PCs and the low power they take. So, yeah, absolutely. A lot of my stuff, I try to minimize power as much as possible. Yeah, K3 was built as a lighter K8, but even so, it's a pig on resources. Yes, for sure. Yes, I have seen those. The new UniFi stuff. Absolutely. Ooh, look, the server's rebooting. Unraid beta ZFS now, is that going to make it better? Like ZFS, the reason it must perform. Well, this is where things get really confusing. Unraid, to my understanding, and I believe this is on there. Uh, so the problem with Unraid is they're doing it on a per disk, but not the full Z pool. They do this poach ZFS formatted disk with Unraid array. That means you're not going to get all the benefits of ZFS because you're doing it on single drives. That's weird to me. And yeah, I don't think so. Definitely just a weird way to implement it. So I don't care much for the way that they do it. So I'm not a fan of that. There's only one mic, so that's weird. You move the mic closer to me, maybe? It's a USB microphone, so it's an on off. Oh man. Keep to upgrade your TrueNAS. We're updating one of them live right here. If it doesn't update, well, that's going to be fun. That'll be tomorrow's project. We'll go back to one that's actually updated. This one works fine. This is a TrueNAS Mini R, so it's got the enclosure on it, so you can see the enclosure pictures on it. Audio is fixed. As magically as it broke is as magically as it came back. You are disappointed with the latest move. I don't know what that means. Huh. Maybe there was something goofy with it because I did touch it and move it. So I don't know why the microphone was having problems. Weird. How would you go around Docker host for multiple apps and different VLANs? Well, I wouldn't use TrueNAS for it. If you have a bunch of custom needs for things like that, that's where TrueNAS is right now, not the solution for that. That's not a problem. That is, or not a solution, I should say. It's one of those things that I don't know if they're going to fix this. Maybe, But if you notice, if I go over here to configurations and I go to settings, there's not an option to choose any more than the base for the networking. You can't go through here and set, if I edit this app, there's no like set it to this VLAN, set it to this network. It's just not an option in TrueNAS. And I don't know if they're ever going to build those options in. If you're using pure Docker, yeah, I get it. And that makes sense. And my solution is use Docker in those cases for that. I have two TrueNAS scales, main and backup. Backup pulse remain. Does it matter which one I upgrade first? Not really. Far as I know, it's cross compatible. I didn't see anything in the notes to tell me it wasn't, but just update them at the same time. Yeah, I don't use much. The only, like, this particular system has sync thing on it and Qt BitTorrent. I think I have another one that has, let me see. One of the other ones have, is it this one? Oh, you know what? This is supposed to have, I probably should have rsync on here too. So this one has that. One of them should have rsync because I was using it to back up a Synology, so that's probably broken. So rsync didn't come over in the update today. That happened to me before. It's easy enough to put back. Looks like it's time for me to review your migration from TrueNAS Core to TrueNAS Scale. I was waiting for Electric Eel. Yeah, this is, if you're still on Core, it's time to move to Scale now, is what it is. Running your apps in a VM on TrueNAS is probably a better way to do it. Qt BitTorrent for those Linux ISOs. Absolutely. That's absolutely the right idea. Hey, look, it's back. Let's log in and see if all my apps showed back up. So we did this one live. This one only had sync thing on it. Uh-oh. Did it break sync thing? I think this had sync thing on it. It's on Electric Eel. The apps did not come over. It said, yeah, I got an error. So I'll have to figure out why it broke. Not a big deal. The nice thing is with sync thing, all the config files are stored within the sync thing directory. So I've covered this before when I've set it up. You just go re-add sync thing and it just gets re-added. I am curious because this fixed it before. We're going to reboot it. If it just shows up, that'll be amazing. Why not just reboot things? I can only imagine the performance to get better. To my knowledge, they didn't really change anything in iSCSI. So, there's not shouldn't be any change, but the fact that we're using less CPU, if you're using the Kubernetes, yeah, that should definitely be a lot better. Does TrueNAS handle well with SSDs if it was consumer hardware? It seems to work fine on consumer hardware, but you're always limited by the queue depth that comes with consumer hardware. Um, Paint Z scaler versus tail scale, head scale. That's a lot more complicated question. Probably better for my forums than this particular stream because I'm just focusing on TrueNAS in this stream here. Best demo ever. Tom showing everyone that the upgrade is flawless, then shows apps breaking for not moving. Well, it's really interesting because all the systems I upgraded, sync thing came over. So I have sync thing on like each one of these. This one, it didn't. And I don't know why. So that's actually kind of fun. That's why I wanted to do as a live stream. You could poke fun at me. I'm perfectly fine. Things go wrong. Besides this, see what brand or model you recommend. I don't have any consumer recommendations, only enterprise ones. I mean, I've had good luck with SanDisk with consumer stuff, but I'm not running enough of them to make a difference. For, the brand stuff, it's like Micron and higher end models. But yeah. Oh, no problem. Like I said, I love it's just a more in depth. That's a good question. It's just more in depth than I have time to answer. And yes, we're just rebooting all the thing. All right, that's back. Did sync thing come back? No. Womp womp womp. It's a var log app migration log. So let's look at this together. I actually know why it broke. Well, no, I don't. I'm actually. This is what's wrong. It's locked. So let's see. Hold on. This might be why. I encrypt everything. So if we can unencrypt it, will that let it? That let it continue upgrading? Wouldn't that be interesting? But I can't. Let's see. Wonder if I can restart it. If I unset pool. No, that won't do it what I want. Maybe if I just reload sync thing. Actually, if I reload any app, let's just randomly grab something. Oh, cool. Olama's in here. Really? Portainer's in here? That's actually kind of cool. They've added a lot more apps. We'll just put net data in here because I like net data. I want to install it even though it's installed. I just want to see if doing this will kick off the process and reinstall the other one. I'm just kind of curious. Well, if I reboot, it's going to lock again. Yeah, restart middleware is probably the solution. So let's see if I load this, it then grabs the process again. So that would be interesting. Because this will cause the middleware to, that's not going to restart it, but let's go here. Nope, nothing. Womp, womp, womp. Let's have to reinstall it. It's weird because my other ones are locked as well. It just decided that's what it's going to do. Actually, I need to do this because I did not have it on a standard port. It's on port. I just go up the port I had it on. Well, I didn't. It's on the standard port, I should say, not. There we go. Host path. Sync thing. That should be it. Install. See if it works. I don't use Nextcloud, so I doubt I'll make a video on it. Hey, look, it's completely configured and set up like magic. Because all the configs are in here. So, all right, completely done. All I do is reinstall it and point it at there. So you guys get to watch an error message turn into a troubleshooting session that took me about 5 minutes. Did they bring back OneDrive support? I can look, but I don't think they did. I didn't see that in any notes. Credentials. So let's see if we can add credentials for OneDrive. Microsoft Storage. Google. Nope. That's not in the list. So no OneDrive support in the list here. Sorry. You can use Azure Blob and Google Cloud, but Mega, Cubic, HTTP, Box, Amazon S3, Backblaze. You also use the new, is this in here too? Yeah. The stuff with the new Storage is in there, but sorry, none of that. Magic and containers. Built by the hour. Other than ZFX Kubernetes, any other changes that were major you might use? Not really. I mean, I mentioned the fact that you can do ZFS expansion, which is awesome, but there's not really it. Yeah, there's not really a it's the global UI, I think I'm probably selling short because people who didn't know how to get to the cloud credentials, that's a really nice one. Or cloud sync test or data protection. I really like the universal search. I think that's definitely, if you're a new user, probably pretty awesome. But yeah, you can see how quickly I fixed the app, and the app now completely does what it was supposed to do just by pointing it back at there. If you set things up properly, such as if we go over here to like my data sets, like, hey, look, sync thing data. I have all the config files right here, which means I don't care if the app gets broken. I just delete the app and point it where it belongs. This is the beauty of when you have Docker properly deployed. You just point it back where it belongs and everything just starts working. It's amazing. I love it. Can you set the amount of RAM caching? You could, but I don't know why you would. There's probably use cases where you can. Yes, you can is the short answer. You can force a certain amount of caching. By default, it's going to use as much as possible. So the default answer is you want it using as much as isn't being used for anything else you want for cache. Like this system was rebooted recently, so most of it's not cache. Actually, because we rebooted this system and just updated it, not much is being used for cache. But it'll allocate what you need for services to run. The rest you want, like all this blue is free. When there's a bunch of drive activity, I want it to completely fill up because that is the ideal goal here. I want to see all of it used like this. That's how it should look. I have the cache is 100 gigs of cache. That's the ideal. You want as much cache because why waste any RAM doing nothing? Cache all the things. Because these systems, if you load a system new, it's TrueNAS _admin. But if you have existing in-place upgrades you've been doing for years, like I have, it's just admin or root. If you have a lot of custom Docker networking, you're not going to want to use TrueNAS for it. You're going to want to use pure Docker. Run a VM inside of here, put Docker on there. TrueNAS just doesn't have a lot of facilities for doing things that involve a lot of networking in Docker. Maybe they'll do it in the future, but as of 2410, it's not on there. Same answer for this. If you want to possible to assign external address to the Docker, same answer. Do you think Docker Swarm will be a viable option for HA? If you want to run a fully high availability Docker instance, TrueNAS isn't your service for that. Build a separate server, set up a VM for it. TrueNAS is like, hey, here's a storage server with some Docker functions for home lab people. End of story. Maybe I should do a video on TrueNAS Enterprise, because one of the things about TrueNAS Enterprise is it does not have any of the applications in it, because that's not what the enterprise people use. The enterprise have separate application servers. So when it comes to TrueNAS, the reason they bolted on applications is for the home user market, not the business user market. So an open source or low cost solution that provides similar benefits to, I don't know what Spectrum Protect is. Never heard of Spectrum Protect, so I can't really answer. What am I drinking? I have I just finished my here, we'll make it full screen, because we're gonna get to the end of the stream here, because it's been 30 minutes. I totally didn't buy this because I like the color of the can. I actually like this beer and I like the color of the can. That's just a bonus. So Bell's Two Hearted and my other friend, at the end of the day, Little Jack. 120 gigs RAM and 100 gig for caching NAS is amazing. We have one that's got like 512. I think we have, well, probably the biggest one I think is probably a terabyte, and most of that's for caching. So yeah. What else we have here? Yeah, TrueNAS is not for complex apps running K8s, and Docker apps are extra content, anything storage rate. Yes. Stability's actually been outside of the applications. TrueNAS has been amazingly stable. So the applications are only part I've ever had a problem with. And hey, all of you are here. I see almost 300 people on the live stream right now. Let me know, because I can do this video real quick. Do you want me to show? I can't show it now because it's customers and I have to log into it. Do you want me to show what a TrueNAS high availability server looks like? We just deployed one in a data center. Just so I can kind of show the differences between TrueNAS business versus TrueNAS. It's the same open source base. It's not a really different software. It's actually thinner because it's missing the applications. And it comes with support and tickets that you can open right from inside there, and monitoring, because those are things businesses want. Yeah. If use a pure Docker environment, if you have a thing on there. So, all right. So people want to see the TrueNAS HA. Absolutely. I'll show it. Like, not a problem. I'll do that video tomorrow, because I was thinking about doing it because we did a pretty big HA deployment for a company, which includes full HA with XCP-ng. So maybe I'll cover the two of them. It's a high availability XCP-ng for server and a high availability dual motherboard, complete automated failover of a TrueNAS system as well. So, okay. Yeah, I can definitely put that together. I could probably get that done tomorrow. I don't use GNS3, so no, not likely I'll do that. I've never used GNS3 before. I do all the networking with real physical hardware. Do they have HA? Yes, they do. The entire system that the system that we put in for, maybe I'll just cover the whole project, because someone had asked when I shared a picture of this. Hold on, where'd it go? I can't take pictures in a data center. That takes a lot of permission. I don't get permission. Not every data center I go into, I can just go and do photos of. But hold on, let me find what you're probably looking for here, or what I'm looking for. And I'm going to leave with this, because that way people have something to stare at. There we go. So someone asked why we have these 4 PF senses set up, and we were setting up. These are dual power supply. Each pair of these goes in one of the data centers. There's an entire rack and stack of this stuff in data center. That is all high availability, along with a high availability TrueNAS. But this is like, I talk about all these things and that you can use them in a home lab, but this is the end result of when it ends up in a data center. So yeah, definitely pretty interesting. I will have more to say soon on the UniFi switches, but for those of you wondering about other switches we might use, is it here or maybe further down? Hold on. We also do Arista 100 gig switches too. This is part of another project we're doing for a client right now. So yes, we do a lot of 100 gig stuff and data center stuff. So it's weird. People go, "Oh, TrueNAS isn't used in the business market." I said, "Who do you think's buying these petabyte servers with 100 gig networking attached to them? Like they run TrueNAS, they're in data centers. I mean, it's not somebody's home lab moved to a data center." Yeah, so fun stuff. All right. Yeah, it is fun to kind of look at and stare when you see all the high end hardware for sure. But with that, I'm going to end it here. I went a little longer than expected, but hey, we had some trouble. You watched me troubleshoot it in real time and make sync thing work. It's not hard to fair. I mentioned this earlier in the stream. I don't use Unraid, so I can't do a full comparison on it. So yeah. You guys don't have petabyte and well, the problem is with 400 gig is the petabyte storage servers aren't all flash, so they won't stream at the full 400 gig. So we stopped at 100 gig. I mean, you can only go so fast with these things. 2410 for sure. 2410 just came out today. That's what today's announcement was. Roll back to the stream and watch it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Awesome to have all of you here. Great to see everyone's excited as I am about TrueNAS. Cool. We get to do one live upgrade on the stream here. I have a few more servers to update, and my son wants to watch some TV or movie together tonight. So that's what we're going to go do. Should you update to 2410? My opinion is yes. Been doing a lot of 2410, upgrading all my servers to it. So far, you watched one of my servers. I'm so happy it happened on a live stream. I'm actually happy when problems happen because then we get to show, like, how do we solve the problem? I updated 3 systems. The 4th one I did on a live stream, and it actually broke sync thing. Whatever. You watched how I fixed it. So pretty easy to do. Just throw it in there and away you go. But thanks everyone for joining. And I'll do more Docker videos. I see people asking for Docker stuff that's advanced. Maybe I'll do a Docker video that just says, if you have advanced use cases, TrueNAS is not for you. Sorry. If you want a lot of Docker stuff, build your own VM for Docker. It's going to be better than the way TrueNAS implemented it. TrueNAS tried to implement it with ease. That's the easiest way I can say it. I get where they're coming from on it by having a bunch of apps and you can hit discover. Whether or not they'll ever really put in the Docker stuff, like to make it as easy as Docker is to use from the command line, I don't know. I don't know that that's on their roadmap. So that's a maybe. But if you have a need today for it, build a VM, load Docker. That's the way to do it. All right. Thanks. Go. Where do I download TrueNAS from? From TrueNAS. What is it? TrueNAS.com, right? Yeah, TrueNAS.com. Double check before. I felt like that was the right answer. Go to TrueNAS.com. Download this. Not sponsored or anything. I'm just a big TrueNAS fan like many of you. Thanks.